What is up, you guys? We're live. What's happening? Happy Sunday, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. So for those of you that are a little bit newer to the show, this is Jim and Tammy Peters. They are, I would call them our Generation X-Perts because they are in charge of all
look at that.
Gen X, including the 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s, but just a little bit. So
Hey now.
Well played, Jen.
Thank you very much. How are you guys? How's things in beautiful scenic Missouri?
Beautiful and scenic.
Yeah. Both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Oh no, actually, it is blooming here, so we are.
It is
getting some color.
quite pretty.
Yes, it's getting
Turning
quite pretty.
green. Springtime rocks.
Yeah.
We love
That's
it.
nice. It
Yeah.
won't stop being winter in Michigan. It just won't stop. So it's to snow tomorrow. It's snowing like
for a
crazy.
walk this afternoon. We kept getting pelted with little bits of ice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Um,
Good? No.
Not as good as you would think. Frogs sleeping, and then we're getting pelted with bits of ice. We're like, yeah.
Yay, it's May.
Amazing. Yeah, it's supposed to be in UP tomorrow. They're supposed to get 2 feet of snow in the Upper Peninsula tomorrow. So
Cover your tomatoes.
Oh no.
That's all right. Spring will be there before you know it.
it's true. It's true.
No.
We're having a slow spring this year. We had a mild winter, honestly. In terms of winter, it was a very mild winter, but it just won't give up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One time, Doug and I were in the UP in July, and they had frost.
Oh wow, in July.
In July. And it
No,
wasn't
thank you.
It was like late July, almost August. So
Yeah. Oh, I don't like the cold.
Indeed. So how are the boys?
Great.
They're fantastic.
Jake graduates from grad school next.
Already?
Yeah.
Graduating
Oh,
from the U.
Yeah.
Next week.
oh,
Yep. Next week's his
We're
graduation.
very excited. We get to have everybody together this week. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Morgan's also graduating, so they are full on adulting now.
congratulations for producing functioning human beings. Good job.
And off the payroll, baby.
Off
Off
the
the payroll.
Yeah.
Breaking their plates. You're done.
Yeah. Jake just recently tried to get a loan from M&D Credit Union, and M&D turned him down.
Yeah, Mom and Dad Credit Union is now out of business. Not gonna that.
That's amazing.
Sorry, tonight.
Do you have a denied stamp?
You
Hey,
know it.
come again.
You know it.
Now, Jim, you had mentioned that we should have wine for today's show. I have trashy Costco Rosé Sangria in my cup today.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, I
What's
didn't
trashy
know
about that?
Hold, please.
Nothing. It was $7. Nothing trashy about that. And I also have 2 maraschino cherries in there for color.
Because what rosé needs to be is just a little bit sweeter.
Agreed. It needs. You know what it needs to be? It needs to be white zin. Let's be honest.
Oh, we love us some white zin. Yes, we do. Tammy's scrambling right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we literally wrestled with our Muppets lists until the bitter end, and so we didn't get the cocktails. But Tammy's back, and she's
Tammy's
got
back. Cocktails. That's what I love about you, Tammy, is that you are a cocktail ready. It doesn't matter.
I'm ready, on the fly.
That's awesome. So as you know, this has been this particular day has been like 2 years in the works. We are finally doing our show on the Mount Rushmore of Muppets.
Ooh.
Because when it comes to we have a fan. This is Michelle Mickey Morris, who I went to Eastern Michigan University with. We were Girls of Goddard together, and she says, "I can't stay for the whole broadcast, which I know is going to be epic and life changing." Yes, Mickey, it is. But I vote for Kermit, Cookie, Piggy, Oscar, and Gonzo. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Love you too.
I think Mickey has changed plans.
Way to go,
Stay
Mickey.
with us,
This
Mickey.
is life changing.
This is life changing. This is the stuff. This is what we all spend our time. This is what we really want to spend our time thinking about.
This
Okay.
is how we spend Thanksgivings.
Those are
That's true.
More of all of everything.
Well, as Generation Xers, we are all very nostalgic for our childhood. The 70s just was fun. Let's be honest. The 70s and 80s were just straight fun. Period.
Free. Yep.
And so this is part of that. We are children of the Muppets, and so we talked about this. Mickey joins us, says our higher education at work, major flex. You got that right. That's right. Beautiful, scenic Eastern Michigan University. So beautiful.
When lower middle class kids could still have a full college experience.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of being a child of the late 70s and 80s, is that there was no social media yet. So you could do all the dumb stuff,
Yes, ma'am.
Indeed. All right, so it is the Mount Rushmore of Muppets. So the way we did this, we set it up that it was kind of a free-for-all. So because there's this school of thought, do you make this Muppet Show Muppets? Do you make this Sesame Street Muppets? Or do you do both? So we'll get to that in a minute. But that's where we are with this idea. And if for those of you that don't know what a Muppet is, all I can say is, are you from Earth? So
and poor you.
Your phone and to figure it out.
Indeed. So I thought I would just start off with a quick history of the Muppets. Again, welcoming our Generation X-Perts, Tammy and Jim Peters. And for those of you who don't know, these are my in-laws. So Jim Peters is my husband's brother, and Tammy is married to Jim. And okay, we got all that done. So you're like, who are these people? I'm like, these are the best people. All right. So first we had to define Sesame Street versus Muppets, and we didn't define it. So I think, Anne, you came up with a list. You did a separate list of Sesame Street Muppets versus Muppet Show Muppets. I just threw them together. And Tammy and Jim, what did you guys do?
Threw them together.
We definitely threw them together.
Which was very, very hard. Yeah, I think Anne went the right route.
And it's interesting, too, because if you look at the guest list throughout the years, there is some cross-Muppeting that exists. So, they're not exclusive by any stretch. All right, so a quick history of Muppets, the Muppet itself. The first Muppet was Kermit, and Jim Henson is a puppeteer, and what he brought to the table was a little bit different, because old school puppeteering was you had your proscenium and you had your puppets on strings, and that's how you did the puppet thing, the occasional puppet with in the socks puppet type thing, where again you had a proscenium type stage. And what Jim Henson did that was different is he kind of took puppets out of the proscenium and he just put them into three-dimensional space with the rest of us, which was really unusual at the time. Nobody was really doing that. So the Muppets got their start in Washington, D.C. in 1955 with a local station that did a show called Sam and Friends, which ran from 1955 to 1961. And the first Muppets really to get any play were Kermit the Frog and Rolf the Dog. So those are two of the original Muppets. Rolf was the first dog to get airtime off of the show. So he debuted outside of Sam and Friends on the Jimmy Dean Show. So he became sort of a favorite of late night television. And that's kind of how the Muppets started to expand beyond their little Washington, D.C. roots.
He did dog food commercials too.
Yes.
I remember those. Yep.
That's right. So, and we'll talk about Rolf a little bit more, but so that they start to gain in this popularity with commercials, with their late night talk shows, going on the Jimmy Dean Show, and PBS picked them up in 1969 to be on Sesame Street. So this was sort of their big break because it came, Sesame Street became a really popular cultural phenomenon in terms of children's shows. So Jim Henson was fairly savvy, and he waived any payment from PBS so that he could keep the rights to his Muppets, which is smart because he was thinking that this wasn't going to be what he wanted to do forever. Because the Muppets actually, he started developing something called the Muppet Show Sex and Violence, but it was not picked up by any network, dummies. And so he rebranded it just as the Muppet Show in 1976, and it was picked up by Associated Television. And this is where we get characters like Miss Piggy and Gonzo and Scooter. And so all of these characters that have become sort of those cultural icons that I'm not going to say that they totally dusted the Sesame Street Muppets, but they did. So, And then, of course, the Muppet Show debuts in 1976, and it becomes wildly popular. And it runs, I don't know, it's kind of run on and off. I think it ran for 6 years, and then it kind of, there's been like different variations of it throughout the year. And it led to things like the Muppet movie in 1979, which is an amazing movie. So Mickey wants to know that when Jim Henson died, she ugly cried. It hurt. That was hard. I get it because we all did a lot of growing up with Jim Henson and the Muppets for sure.
Yep.
So as far as the Muppet Show itself, and as far as I'm concerned,
man,
the Muppet Show is what really pushed Muppets to the level that we're still talking about them and still thinking about them today. And the Muppet Show was a big part of that. It was part variety show, part burlesque, and it was weird and funny and awesome. And it always felt like there was something for everybody, regardless of who you were or what you liked. 139 total guests and some legends. These are just some names that I've thrown on here: Julie Andrews, Alan Arkin, Pearl Bailey, Shirley Bassey. I still sing all of the ones from the Paul Simon episode: Liza Minnelli, Steve Martin, Doug Henning, Mr. Magic. John Denver, Carol Burnett. When Star Wars was doing its thing in '77, Mark Hamill, Chewbacca was on there, R2D2, and C-3PO were on the Muppet Show. Vincent Price. I mean, literally just a who's who of the '70s and '80s, and before that. I mean, the legends go on. George Burns. I want to say, I can't think of his name. The dancer, Fred Astaire. I think he was one of the guests on there as well. And just on and on. Like, I needed more slides to put just the who's who of who guest starred on this show. So there you go. What do you guys want to add to that?
I just read that Carol Burnett was there on the very first episode.
Nice.
The lovely Carol Burnett, who just turned 90 years old.
I'm not gonna be okay when she passes. I'm not gonna be okay.
Nope.
That'll be a big ugly cry. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because I remember people saying that, like, growing up and hearing that women weren't funny, and I remember thinking, all the women, all the shows I liked had funny women in them, like Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball, etc. And I was like, and so anyway, totally
sidebar, right?
It's like, it was weird, and my mom was not into us watching weird stuff. She almost, it's like, this is, but it was like one of these shows where you could see, it's like it was adults but disguised as a children's show. So I often felt like I was getting away with something, but I didn't know what it was yet.
Then you have the classic Christmas album with John Denver and the Muppets.
Yes.
Oh, that's
That was
right.
the best.
Aces.
That was the best.
Aces.
We play every year when we decorate our tree.
So good stuff. So just and what I always liked is that it's still there's still so much Muppets within our spirit today, which I like. So I'm just gonna to tear the Band-Aid off. This is my Mount Rushmore of Muppets in no particular order, and I think you start with the two foundational Muppets, Kermit and Rolf. Kermit being the first Muppet, and honestly, Kermit is the he's the glue. Like, if you look at,
I was totally gonna say that.
If you look at every Muppet movie, Kermit really is the central. He's the I don't know if the protagonist is the right word. He's the protagonist of the Muppets, as far as I'm concerned, for whatever reason. And I think it's just because he's the first Muppet. Rolf is the loyal rock of the Muppets. Again, he was that. The fact that he's a dog, I think, really is part of that. I think people just like, he's your loyal buddy dog, Rolf the dog. And so for me, he's a foundational Muppet as well. And he didn't get a lot of super sexy play on the Muppet Show. But again, you always found that I'm just like, oh, look, there's Rolf. I love him. Oh, wait, Mickey says the one with Kenny Rogers and the Muppetize the Gambler. Oh, good
one. Good memory.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
That's a good one.
Mickey, we all just voted that you have to stay for the rest of the deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't go. You're too good of a contributor.
So those are my two to start with. Miss Piggy is a feminist icon. Duh. You just can't. I mean, when you look at the amount of press and the amount of just amazing glamour shots of Miss Piggy that exist, and the fact that she just didn't take shit from anybody, and I love that. I'm like, look at Miss Piggy karate chopping her way through all of it, you know. She knew what she wanted. She wasn't afraid to ask for it, and she was not afraid to fight for it. So as a young woman, Miss Piggy, you know, was as far as I'm concerned is awesome. And then finally Cookie Monster, because cookie starts with C, and I feel like when it comes to capturing gluttony's not the right word, just I want it now, and I want a lot of it. Cookie Monster, I feel, captures America really well. So there you go.
I always rooted for him to not eat the cookie, but he would anyway.
Oh, absolutely. There was, you know,
or the plate of cookies or whatever it was. Yeah.
I feel close to Cookie Monster for that, because I know what it's like. I'm like, if you put a plate of cookies in front of me,
forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it. I'm gonna eat them cookies.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention list is Fozzie the Bear, Gonzo, Statler and Waldorf, because, you know, Statler and Waldorf are hilarious. Animal, Bert and Ernie, Beaker, Big Bird, and the Count. So that was kind of my honorable mention. So there you go. And I know you could richly debate this forever. Let's do it. So let's go ahead and hit up Anne with your Mount Rushmore.
So my Mount Rushmore is, of course, Kermit the Frog. I feel you can't have a Mount Rushmore without Kermit the Frog. And I went for a slightly different reason, not because he was the first one, but because he is what we wish we could be. He's America's ego. He wants he wants us to be our best selves. He wants to be our best self. He's always, you know, you talk about him being the protagonist. He always seems to be bringing us together in that journey so that we can continue the journey and be successful. So that's what we want to see ourselves as. And then, of course, Miss Piggy, because she was like one of my first idols. You know, she taught us how to be fashion forward, and she took zero shit. So I thought this was like the iconic woman. And then, of course, I chose Animal because he's the opposite of Kermit the Frog. He's our id. You know, no control, just, you know, total bliss, whatever it takes, no thought whatsoever. So, you know, he's the opposite of Kermit the Frog. And then I chose Big Bird because he's our innocence. You know, it's like he's what we want for our children, what we want. We want to maintain that part of ourselves. So that was my my Mount Rushmore. And then I said I have no room for other possibilities, which isn't true. When I was my very favorite Muppet was Rolf the dog, so I had to add him. I didn't think he necessarily could make the Mount Rushmore, but he should have a lot of credit. So that was I did go back and forth. I had one Sesame Street, just because I think Big Bird is, especially for the baby boomers and a lot of Gen Xers, Big Bird did make an impact on us. So yeah, so that's mine.
Okay.
There's no wrong answers. Well, maybe.
So now, Anne, this is your Mount Rushmore of Muppet Show Muppets, or you just went with?
I just went with any Muppets. This is just any of the Muppets. It didn't have to be Muppet Show Muppets, and then I had one that was strictly Sesame Street ones. But I thought Big Bird, there wasn't another Muppet Show Muppet that I thought made a bigger impact than of the top three, after the top three, than Big Bird. So I really felt like I couldn't leave Big Bird out.
So I totally get that. I'm going to go to Mickey. She says, Statler and Waldorf, never understood why they were so cranky. And then I hit my 40s and got it.
Ooh. In my research, though, Mickey, I have the answer for you. So if you look in the backstage of the Muppets, if you ever see it, there is a Statler and Waldorf poster. Statler and Waldorf used to be headliners, and they're not anymore, and they're pissed. And that's why they heckle everybody, because they're cranky, because they're not headliners anymore.
That's some good research right there, Jim Peter. You're my hero.
Very nice. Very nice. You should get a master's degree.
I would love to study for that. I would pay for that education. Although I have it. I already have it. It's good.
PhD in Muppet. Okay, so Anne, let's take a look at your Mount Rushmore of Sesame Street Muppets.
Of course, Kermit the Frog. because he was the very first. Then I went with Big Bird because he's a baby boomer and a Gen X icon. And then I went with Oscar the Grouch, who taught us we don't have to always be nice. So fuck off. And then I went with Elmo because he's a millennial icon. I don't understand Elmo because I'm not a millennial. I'm the cranky other dudes when it comes to Elmo, but I figured he did make quite an impact on those millennials, you know, who are like all 40 now. So I guess they're not kids anymore, but you got old too. So other possibilities, I'm open to suggestions. Count the Count, Cookie Monster, Bert and Ernie, Grover. You could replace any, except for Kermit and Big Bird. The other two can all be replaced with any one of those. So that's just, you know, it's like, I don't agree with who's on Mount Rushmore itself. So it's like,
oh, see, there you go.
Disney Elmo. I'm like, yeah, but he should probably have a place. He did make an impact, only it's weird.
All right. So now what I need to know is what Jim and Tammy, what do we got? So we have, Ann and I have given you our Mount Rushmores. It is time for your Mount Rushmore. Start us off with one.
You want to go?
Nope, you go.
All right. So I'm going to go from 4 up to 1. Number 4. And I think you got to understand, Jen, I think that we come from a little bit of a different place when it comes to Sesame Street versus Muppets. I'm a few years older than you are, and I was one of the first wave of kids to come up with Sesame Street.
Cool.
And they're badass, like indelible marks everywhere on me. So I had to have at least 2 OGs in this mix. So my number 1 OG coming in at number 4 is Cookie Monster. I mean, come on. I have to sing Cookie, Cookie, Cookie starts with C to Tammy every time we fly because she's terrified to fly. I sing it for her. It's my favorite Muppet song of them all, and there's some amazing ones, right? And besides, I don't know if you guys remember, but Cookie Monster got a bad rap in the 80s. Even Matt Lauer showed up and started giving Cookie Monster shit for eating so many cookies. And it's crap. Because to be technical, he never really ate the cookies.
That's true, because
he never ate the
cookies ended up everywhere.
Those son of a guns fell out of his mouth every time. And he never ate the cookies. You know, so I love the guy. My number 3, my number 3 guy is Animal. Animal. Oh my gosh. So I grew up a huge fan of music and even a bigger fan of drummers, like drum players. I just love drumming and I'm a big fan. And there is no doubt in my mind, and I don't think I've ever read it to be true, but there's a guy named Keith Moon who drummed for The Who. And Animal is Keith Moon. If you ever read anything about this guy, he was crazy. He was frenetic. He was high energy everywhere. He threw his drums all over the place. They blew up. He kicked them. The whole deal. That's Animal. Animal's my guy. He's instant energy off the bench. I just love this guy. Number 2. My number 2 is another OG, and it's Grover. Grover's in for me. And he only because he's the first Muppet I fell in love with. Man, he made me laugh every time. I would look forward to the bits that Grover was in, whether it was when he was the waiter or Super Grover. Like, I just dug that, and it made me laugh. And he was just so sweet. Like, I love me some Grover, right? Oh, and he also had a book. I wrote it down. He had Monster at the end of this book. He and Kermit did together, and it is, if it's not it's one of the biggest selling books. So he's multi-talented too, my man.
Real.
And my number 1 Muppet is, without a doubt, the most talented of the entire bunch. She is fearless. She can sing. She can dance. She can karate chop. She is a fashionista. She's hilarious. Like, as far as the talent meter goes, nobody's even close. And Miss Piggy's my number 1.
Absolutely.
She wins the whole deal. And the only reason I don't put Kermit in, 2 reasons, really. Kermit is the guy, right? I mean, he's in. Right? But he's kind of like, if any of you are NBA fans at all, he's the Ernie Johnson of the NBA on TV or TNT.
On TNT. I know who you're talking about.
Ernie Johnson is not the star of that show. Much like Kermit, in my mind, when I watched the show, I didn't tune in to watch Kermit. I tuned into NBA and TNT to watch Shaq and Charles Barkley and those guys. You could probably put those guys with different Muppets and pair them up. But you guys said it earlier. Kermit was the glue guy. Not too flashy,
Nope.
not over the top, and he was just super steady, kept everybody together. But man, I tuned in to watch these other Muppets.
Joe wants you to sing the Cookie Monster song.
Not gonna do it, Joe. Not enough wine. Cookie starts with C.
That's exactly how he does it on the airplane, too.
So Duncan's sitting over here off camera, and I asked him, I was like, "Is Keith Moon like an animal?" He's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah. In fact, if you look up a picture of Keith Moon, he's got like a unibrow. I'm not kidding you. I think they're kindred spirits.
Now I gotta find Keith Moon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hang on. Keith Moon. Oh yeah, there he is. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm gonna try and get him on here.
Oh my god.
I gotta put him on. Give me 2 seconds here. Pictures.
He definitely has some English eyebrows going.
There's no
for
doubt.
For real.
If you got any action shots of Keith Moon, you'll just see.
I
Who's
just
got
have
a
a
good gap?
picture. I just have a picture of him here. That
No, playing style is dead on.
Mhm. Duncan says the playing style is dead on.
What's that?
He's got a nice gap between his teeth, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And best.
Uh-oh, I can't get him on.
Hey, while you're doing that, I got some other fun things for you. So I got an honorable mention list too.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'll just give you the ones that are a little bit different than what everybody else did. So Mana Mana is a Muppet. And I think he was a one-trick pony. And Mana Mana and the Snoths did the song. And they were as famous as anybody because they got on all like the primetime variety shows and all of that with Mana Mana. Love him. My man Link Hogthrob. Yeah, I said it, Link Hogthrob. He was the original male chauvinist pig. The only reason he gets honorable mention on my list is because he was proof that the Muppets were made for adults. Like, come on, Link Hogthrob, how many giggles do we get out of that? There was this gal in Electric Mayhem, which is one of my favorite bands ever, Electric Mayhem, named Janice. And
Yes.
Janice was a badass Muppet. Janice was cool. She played like 3 or 4 different instruments. Like she was off the chains cool. And she had the big fluffy like eyelashes before anybody else. Like they were that's Animal.
There he is, Keith Moon. Yeah, you're right. That's 100% him.
That's great. I got Statler and Waldorf in my honorable mention only because they made my dad laugh. Like my dad would laugh his ass off to Statler and Waldorf. And then overrated, I think Gonzo is overrated. And I think Elmo is a product of marketing only. Like he's a product of marketing only. Elmo's overrated. And Big Bird, even though he's an OG, Big Bird's overrated. He never really contributed much of anything except for Snuffleupagus, who might be in the honorable mention. That's the best thing that Big Bird did. All right.
Jeez, I
So,
should have
Jim giving a passionate defense of his honorable mentions and trashing some we'll call them American favorites, but that's what you get to do here. We're not squashing any opinions today. Absolutely not.
Nobody's wrong.
But the funny thing is, Jim, even though you and I come from very different sensibilities when it comes to Muppet Show versus Sesame Street, we had a lot of similarities in terms of how we felt about our Muppets,
Yep, very true. Very true. Very passionate, very personal.
Yes. Tammy, what about you?
I should have gone for Jim. That was very passionate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm that passionate.
Oh, you are? You've been working on this for literally for weeks.
I did some phenomena. Anywho, Kermit, like everybody else, same reasons that
Is this in any particular order?
No, not really.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe Kermit number 1 because he's the original. I just like everything that's already been mentioned about him. I'd also say he's a great mediator, and I think he taught us to listen to everybody and not just fight about everything. that we need to listen to each other. So whatever, that's what I would add about Kermit. Miss Piggy came at a time in the 70s when we started seeing a lot of women's strengths in Charlie's Angels, Bionic Woman, Wonder Woman, Carol Burnett, and then we got Miss Piggy. And I think she personified all that. So
For real.
yes, and she did it with style. She shows how to be stylish and strong at the same time and to not put up with anything from our men.
True.
Just teasing. And Cookie Monster, for this last thing Jim said, like he legit does sing that to me on airplane because I am not a great flyer, full of anxiety. He grabs my hand, leans into my ear, and sings me "C is for Cookie," and it just brings me back to Cookie Monster. I mean, it truly is. And he was my childhood favorite. I always wanted him to just leave the cookies alone. Just don't do it. And he always did it. Of course, I do the same thing, but whatever. And then I do a tie for 4. I think you can't have one without the other, and that's Fozzie the Bear and Statler and Waldorf, excuse me. Because every time Fonzie would do his stand-up, they would be up in the, what do you call it, base to sit in, and make fun of him. They would make fun of him and heckle him.
The best.
They would heckle him. They would heckle the show. They hated the show so much. They heckled, but man, they were back for every episode. So they truly loved it. But if it weren't for them, Fozzie wouldn't have gotten any better. So
I like the fact, love the fact that you made Fozzie the Bear and Statler and Waldorf a group. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, they really picked on him a lot. They really picked on him a lot. Those are mine. I wasn't. There's a lot more I could have added. Grover, I took off my list. I love Grover. Near Far, you didn't mention Near Far.
Love it.
Yeah. The waiter. I forgot about him being the waiter. That was so funny. I love them. But I'm kind of with Jim in that generation where I feel like the Muppets really kind of came into their own on Sesame Street, and then they spun off into the Muppet Show.
Took off. Absolutely took off.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
Now, Ann and I did a little bit of, we expanded a little bit in our thinking of the Muppets. And Ann, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you because you came up with some groupings that I found very interesting. We'll start with this one.
I thought I would do an LGBTQIAS plus Mount Rushmore of Muppets. Of course, my first choice was Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
Joe Peters would agree with you. He wanted to comment on that as well, but I thought I'd let you take the lead on that, Ann.
Okay. And then, of course, I said Count Von Count because he has a cape. And then, of course, I chose Scooter because he's just so tidy. And look how he's rocking that green satin jacket.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
With a turtleneck, no less.
turtleneck.
Yeah.
These are some LGBTQIAS plus icons, if you ask me. Of course, this is coming from a straight white woman, so maybe I'm overstepping my boundaries, but I really feel that this they have made an impact. So yeah.
Agreed. So you also, Ann, expanded our thinking of the Muppets to include current news media.
I did. I thought of if there was a Mount Rushmore of CNN Muppets, then I would choose the newsman because he looks the part. And I would choose Beaker because he has a difficult time breathing. And then I would choose Rizzo the Rat because when they go low, what we really want to do is go really low and call them idiots. And then I also chose Scooter for the same reason. He's just so tidy.
Yeah, he's clean.
Anderson Cooper tidy.
I said it was the Anderson Cooper tidy. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and because we're an equal opportunity offender, if this is the Mount Rushmore of CNN Muppets, we also had to have a Mount Rushmore of Fox News Muppets.
Fair enough.
So we have Sam the Eagle because America. And then we have Statler and Waldorf because cranky old white men. And then I chose Gonzo because he's a libertarian.
For real.
And then there was also in the running, we could have gone with Crazy Harry, Uncle Deadly, or Pepe, the King Prawn.
Oh my God, that's great.
They're like, on the scene reporters or something. So
That's hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
Jim, you had mentioned earlier that you also wanted to discuss the worst Muppets or a who's who of terrible Muppets. So I got the ball rolling on this, and I would love if you could add some. For me,
wait a minute, I might just walk off this show. The Swedish chef is a worse Muppet. Word to Ferk.
And the Swedish Chef.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean,
Word to Ferk.
for somebody who appreciates so much of what what's her name? Julia Childs. It's like she's the opposite of Julia Childs, who's so irritating. He can't. And somebody who loves food, I'm like, this chef does not love food.
I feel that way. I feel the Lamb Brothers.
Dude,
You
but
know,
how did they do that puppeteering? Because those hands.
those hands are, and that's okay. That was
Unbelievable.
number one for me. The Swedish chef's hands always really, really bothered me. I'm like, what the fuck is that with his hand? Yeah. Because I put down Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. I feel Dr. Bunsen Honeydew is a monster and one of the worst scientists ever. I'm like, what? Look what he did to poor Beaker.
He
Come on.
tortured him.
No self-respecting scientist would ever do what
God.
he did.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get heated when I think about it.
Duncan says he's a war criminal.
He is a war criminal. Come on.
I'm telling you, this was an adult show. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. There is some darkness in here.
Indeed.
Yeah, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew is a dark mother bleeper. That's all I know. And I do not like him. I don't like what he did to Beaker, and he's a monster.
Yeah.
Elmo to me is like, have we ever seen Elmo and Chucky in the same room together? No. 100% agree with you, Jim, that Elmo was some sort of millennial marketing BS and that he's actually Chucky put on Earth to torture humans, especially adults.
Well, I have to say, as a mother of one of said millennials, I was in line to buy that stupid Tickle Me Elmo that I
What do you know about that, Tammy?
that I never got anyway.
Sucker.
He still graduated grad school. He made it.
Exactly. He lived without his Elmo.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Nope, that was all I had. That was it.
I believe Fraggle Rock is from hell as well. His whole, I'm like,
It was what was the baby Scooby Doo and the baby it was just really going a step too far. One season too many.
Scrappy Doo.
Oh,
the worst.
we can have an
It's like
entire
when a
show.
sitcom in the 70s would bring the cute cousin on because the show was slowly going down.
Yeah, what was the Brady Bunch? What was his name?
Cousin Oliver.
Oliver.
Cousin Oliver, yeah.
Oliver. And then the 80s, the moms just had another baby when we all knew they were done having babies. Like in what was the show with Kurt Cameron and Deceivers? And she had a baby after all her kids were all in high school. Deceivers, Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, that's right.
Right. And so the one that Michael J. Fox was on, they had a baby too.
It's a late in life baby.
Yeah.
I guess either that or it's a late in life or the milkman thing, whatever. I also, so again, the Swedish Chef, yeah, and I would say the board could be very split on the Swedish Chef because I know the Swedish Chef was wildly popular.
hilarious.
It just made me mad because as somebody that really likes to eat and really loves cooking, it just pissed me off. I'm like, this dude's a terrible chef and he's really irritating his hands.
How did he not chop everything in half, including his own hands?
It's that man hands from Seinfeld. I don't know.
That's
And then of course
crazy.
you can't list any worst Muppets without going straight to the Muppet Babies.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Bad
Terrible.
idea.
Yep. Everything. I mean, even putting the picture on the slide hurt my feelings. I'm like, God, I hate you all so much. I don't know what that says about me as a person. How could anybody hate Muppet Babies? And I don't know. I do.
Marketing.
So.
Marketing.
Yeah,
It's all the stuff, all the cool stuff about the Muppets, and they got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's that they took this awesome, weird, adultish show and they turned it into baby stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, can't we have anything? Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly. How can anybody hate me?
All right, so go ahead, Jim. Add to me a list of other lame ass Muppets that you.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, there is such a creeper factor of this Dr. Brunson Honeydew. Excuse me. The total creeper, maybe the first creeper in my young childhood. I just didn't quite get it, and he never opens his eyes. It just freaked me.
He doesn't even have eyes.
See, I know. He's like one of those like icky cave dwelling things that doesn't need light. So why have eyes?
Morlock.
Yeah, he's like a Morlock coming out of it.
Oh, good one from the Time Machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time bagging on any of theirs other than what you did, like the spin-offs Come on, really? But of the originals, there were great ones, not so great. Like Gonzo got under my skin. I know Gonzo is probably like a top fiver. Bugged the shit out of me. I don't know why.
His obsession with chickens was a little bit unnerving for me.
Why? Because he's a libertarian, and libertarians. No,
I'd like to think at that stage of my life that didn't really weigh me down one way or the other, but maybe it did. I don't know.
Bugged me. Scooter bugged me. I don't know why.
Oh, Scooter was. I forgot about Scooter until I started looking up Muppet stuff. I was like, oh yeah, who irritated me was Fozzie Bear, and I know he was very popular, but I'm just like, can we get back to Miss Piggy?
I don't blame you.
I liked Fozzie.
I don't blame you.
I just like he was not my. I was like, I just thought he was annoying. I was like, there's nothing more annoying than a guy that thinks he's funny who's not funny.
Ooh, it's like that one character from the movie Sisters.
Yes.
The one that always comes with. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, he's always on, isn't he?
I'm gonna have to watch that. Is that with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a funny movie.
It's a funny movie.
I love
It is. I think you guys would both really enjoy that. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies for sure.
It's like it's just fun to watch. Oh,
Fun to
God.
watch again. If you're a child of the 80s, you'll get it and you'll love it. That as they go back to and relive, the one night. I don't know. I just think it's a really smart movie.
It's
really
fun.
funny.
It's a super fun movie.
Yeah. So I think we've exhausted our list of Muppets. Did we miss anything?
No.
I don't know.
Of course not. Of course we didn't miss anything.
The crowd has got to weigh in.
Well, Mickey left, and I think Joe's the only other person weighing. We get a lot of people that watch later and then leave us.
I love it. I love it.
Some ideas about what we did right or what we did wrong.
I know my baby brother is an aficionado himself, so I'd be curious to know which way he goes.
Joe, if you're still with us, type us a list real quick. Give us your. In fact, if you want, what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you an email, Joe Peters, and if you want to jump on and join us, why don't you get in on this? So, hang on, I got to send you an invite.
I have to say, I'm a little shocked he's not on here. I thought he would be.
All right, hang on. I'm going to send you a link to your phone, Joe Peters, and if you want to jump in and join us, that would be great. I'm sending it to your email, so check your email. Paste. And all right, so I just sent it to you. So if you're on, get in here. Get in here. You can just join if you're on your phone if you want to do that. So
Why doesn't he just jump in with you?
because he's not here.
Oh, he's not? Oh,
He's in Petoskey.
oh, that's right.
He's way up north, eh?
Yeah.
He is. He's 233 miles north of here.
Ah.
Up in lovely Petoskey.
It is, except I think it's actually nicer up there than it is down here right now.
They're
Right
not
now-
going to snow?
Here in lovely Chelsea, it looks like it wants to rain. Should probably bring my chickens in, but hey.
You're gonna be okay. Duncan, is Duncan back there with you?
Yes, Duncan.
Yes.
Do you have
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this.
Over.
Kermit definitely is number
Duncan,
one.
come on over.
Oh, sure.
Come join us, Duncan Arthur.
Duncan.
Wait, there he is.
Oh yeah. Hey guys. Yeah, Kermit, Miss Piggy, Animal, and probably Gonzo. Those would be the top four. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
I
he goes
agree
Gonzo.
the chef. The chef. I mean, every time the chef was on, it was the same
thing.
It's like an old Saturday Night Live skit, where it's like, oh, oh no, Joe Peters is here. But yeah, the chef was just kind of lame because it was the same joke, and honestly, Beaker and the doctor is sort of the same skit every time, Yeah.
Yes, the doctor's just something dark and horrible, and then Beaker suffers because of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
fucking Dr. Mangala.
He goes, and Duncan goes full Nazi. Dr. Bunsen Honeydew was full Nazi. Okay. Joe, welcome, my friend.
Way in,
Hola,
young man.
muchachos y muchachas.
Hola.
Hola.
All right, so what's the Joe Peters?
My favorite character was not a character. My favorite character was the house band, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Dude, the Electric Mayhem. is
They rocked.
They sure
They
did.
had Girl on bass. They had Dr. Teeth. They had Rolf, solid keyboardist. Animal,
I know.
setting the foundation.
So
solid group all the way
Peters
across.
boys are in lockstep when it comes to their musical choices. So
Electric Mayhem, baby.
I think you have that written down, didn't you? Oh,
They're in
yeah,
here.
You just got it
oh
written
yeah.
down. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
That's it. You have any more?
I'm trying to think of who just kind of leaped out to me. I knew that it was really cool that Gonzo was a misogynist, but I also knew at the same time that it wasn't right. Because he had quite the harem going for himself.
Oh, the harem of chickens.
Oh, the chickens
Harem of chickens.
adored him.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The harem of chicks.
But why you should
Yep.
be on Fox News?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Oh my God.
So cool.
All right, you guys. Well, I believe that we have definitely I think we've given the people a really good some things to think about. You know, instead of thinking about the current state of the world, you should be thinking about
Muppets.
Muppets.
which Muppets are the best Muppets.
I can't wait to hear and read some of the feedback.
Me too.
Indeed.
Me too. It's
So
very
before
personal.
we say that again.
It's a very personal thing.
It
Agreed.
is.
Agreed.
It's like you have to choose what and you only get 4, so you have to choose wisely. So Ann, brothers, you and I haven't really talked about what we should do for our next show.
Well, I do have another Universal Yum kit from Belgium, so we can do
Nice.
that. We have to be together to do it, so we can taste everything together.
Yes.
We talked. Jenny and I have both seen now Plane with Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler and I are continuing our somewhat, unhealthy is not the right word. We both definitely have a mild obsession with Gerard Butler for whatever reason.
Exactly. So we have to review that movie. Oh, you know what? Duncan and I went for a walk. We were talking about it. It's like, he lost some weight and lost some of his puffiness. It's like Gerard Butler stopped drinking whiskey and started drinking mango White Claws instead because they're only 100 calories. So see, exactly. So he lost some of that, like, I'm an alcohol puffiness. So we still have to do that. We have to review the book, Lessons in Chemistry, though I'm not done yet because I keep like reading it and then getting really pissed off, and I have to put it down for a while because I'm like, wow, they just can't stop being terrible. So that might take me a little bit longer. So
Well, then I think we have to review Plane because I like that movie, and I think it's one of those movies that's sort of under the radar that people will enjoy watching. So
let's
Plane?
talk about
Plane, yes.
They
And
won't
Hannah,
like it.
Terrible title. Terrible
Wow.
title.
Terrible
But
title.
it is about a plane.
It is. And in the end, the very last shot of the movie is of the plane.
Exactly.
Yep. I also think we have to talk. So, and I don't know if this is old or new. I would love to do a review of the show Dairy Girls.
Yes. I have so many people I know right now who are watching it for the first time. They're just discovering it. So
Have you guys watched, Jim and Tammy, have you watched Dairy Girls?
I have not.
You must.
you must.
It's on Netflix. All 3 seasons are on there. It's only short. There's only 18 episodes total, 19 episodes. Make sure you watch it with subtitles because it's though it's in English, it's 90s Belfast. You'll like it just for the soundtrack.
Oh, I
It's
love
amazing.
it. Heck yes.
Because it's set in the 90s, so you'll love the soundtrack.
Yes.
Good.
So, all right.
Aren't
So I'm
you
going to
two
say
about
Plane.
aren't you two about due to take some sort of road trip here soon? I mean, those
Road
are
trip.
by far the most entertaining of them all.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we'll have
And they're
our
all
parents
fabulous.
with them, so it'll be
Yeah.
so awesome.
Jim, it's funny you should say that, but we will actually be going out to Colorado in June. Unfortunately, our Uncle Norman passed a few weeks ago, and so his service will be in Colorado
Celebration of
in
Life.
June. Celebration of Life will be in June, so we'll actually be driving our parents out for the celebration during Fibark weekend in Salida, and so we'll be
Nothing like
going out-
celebrating life by
Celebrating
driving your
life.
parents across the country in a minivan.
That is
That's a
correct.
celebration.
Yes.
That would be a fun
Now,
show.
it's funny you should ask though, because this sort of coincides with the reopening of Casa Bonita. So,
Under
so
new
not only will we
ownership.
be doing a show about Casa Bonita, we will be doing a show while we are at Casa Bonita.
I love
Well,
Casa
that-
Bonita Million.
Will it come with a complete menu review as well?
Oh yeah. What we're really hoping though, as Ann and I are both we're really afraid that they're gonna like clean it up and make it nice, and I don't really want that. I want it to be trashy, and I want it to smell like a pool that shouldn't be a pool anymore, and I want everything to be that layer of sticky that exists. And
I want them to put in bags and refried beans, throw them in the microwave, onto your plate.
And I would still really like the carrying my tray experience, like cafeteria style.
You might be a little disappointed, I think, perhaps.
Maybe stay at a hotel close by because you're going to need a toilet if the food's the same.
Oh, see?
Oh, well, we're both willing to risk
That's
that.
what I thought one of
Just
the
went
best
over the
parts.
line.
I
She
don't
just went
know.
over the
That's
line.
the best parts of Casa Bonita was like, hey,
Fine.
guilt-free place to have a blowout.
It is. It's amazing.
I think they're lying. I think that's common knowledge if you're from Denver.
Sopapillas, good frozen margaritas.
Yeah, to their defense, you guys, they make a good margarita there, and their sopapillas were always excellent. And the rest of the food was what they gave you.
Right.
That's right.
It was on a plate.
That's right. You got
Yeah.
a plate, and food came on the plate.
Food came
I
on
think
the
they'll
plate.
still have the diver.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're
Yeah,
bringing
they
it all
better.
back.
They got to have the diver.
Her and the
Okay.
guy in the gorilla suit. Oh, I hope it's the same gorilla suit.
The 52-year-old gorilla suit.
That could not have smelled good. Ooh.
So yeah, so
Got the
anyway, those are
menu.
the upcoming shows. We've got a
Yes.
lot on our plate over the next several weeks, that's for sure. So I think, Ann, we start 2 weeks from today with our review of the movie Plane with Gerard Butler. And we're gonna bring Chip on. You know, actually, when we do our review of Dairy Girls, we should probably bring Chip on to talk about other things that we should be watching. Because Chip he lets us know what we should be watching.
Exactly.
What's Plane on? How can I catch Plane?
Oh, it's on Prime. I think you have to pay for it though, but it's not very expensive, right? Where'd you
I have it.
We rented it from Prime for $5.99.
See,
Okay.
So
Totally
it's
A bargain.
it was a bargain. And the nice thing too about this movie is it's not too long. They didn't make the mistake of making this movie overly long. It's like they get right to and it really is pretty riveting. That scene in the plane at the beginning is really good.
no, it's remarkably entertaining, and yeah, it was. Even Duncan was like, because he hates my Gerard Butler's
Mild
session. He hates it, and he's like, oh man, I don't want it. And about a third of the way through, he's like, this is pretty good, which is high praise for him.
And let's face it, most Gerard Butler movies aren't good.
No, he's what is it? The poor man's Russell Crowe,
Real
So
Storm, I'm talking to you, okay?
all the down movies. I'm talking to you.
Olympus has fallen, London has fallen, Angel has fallen, I've fallen and I can't get up. Talking to you.
All terrible. All terrible. I slipped on this pool of whiskey and I can't get up.
Oh, funny.
Sad. All right, so we're going to close it up. Jim and Tammy, stay with us, all right? Stay on. After we sign off, I'll bring everybody back on so we can just say hi for a minute. Is that cool with everybody?
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
Sounds great.
All right, you guys, hang on. I got to put my brand in the background, and then I will bring everybody off. Have a be good, everybody. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks for our review of Plane.
Can't wait.
That's
Plane.
AIN.
Matt Damon.
So, Matt Damon. Okay, folks, peace.
Bye.